Well, hello, my name is Anthony English, and in this presentation, I'm going to run you through a business breakthrough, and I'm going to call it minimum investment business breakthrough. So, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to assume that you have a business. You have a family business of some kind. Maybe you were the one who started it. In fact, let me call you John. All right, I'm going to give you a name, and I'm going to paint a little picture. So, John, you have got a family business. Your wife works in it. You've even got a few staff. You've got maybe 4, 5, 10 staff, and things are not going that well. Your staff are good. They've all been there for a long, long time, and they love you, and your customers love you. But somehow you're really considering maybe it's time to shut things down. You're burnt out. You're feeling pain. You're feeling the pain of the time. You're feeling that really pain in that gut. When you wake up every morning, you think, "Oh my goodness, am I going to make payroll this week? Am I going to the cash flow is just such a strain." You know that you should be doing marketing. You know that you should be doing sales, but it all takes time. You've cut your expenses as much as you can, or maybe there are some other areas you could do it, but you're pretty stuck. So what can you do with minimum investment? So when I say minimum investment, I'm going to make it almost zero, okay? Because there are two problems here. One is that you don't have money, okay? So you can't go in and fork out money on a big marketing campaign to go and get new customers. All right, you can send some emails, you can contact some people, make some phone calls, but in terms of building a whole lot of ads or a new website or anything like that, well, we're just not going to head down that path. Okay, and the other pain is we're going to the pain points here, is that you don't have time. Okay, this is a really big one. So here here are the pain points. It's a family business. So you got some tension around, some stresses around payroll and cash flow. You're working long hours, and so you feel almost like you're married to the business. Maybe others in your family are feeling that, and that you are the go-to guy. Okay, so you are stuck. You're feeling just a lot of stress. Maybe you're absorbing a lot of that pain yourself. You're feeling that there's not really anyone that you could exactly turn to, and the profitability is just not there. And yet, I forgot to mention, it's highly customized work that you do. Okay, you're a specialist in what you do, and you really are an industry leader in your field. And so what that does, that makes you a bit of a single point of failure. Okay, is that it's all got to go through you. So what are your options? Well, we'll look at some of those options in a moment. But look, here are some of the pain points that I'm saying. Here are some of the things that we're not going to... Okay, you could have problems with staff. I'm not going to sort those out for you. I'm not going to tell you to go and sack some people. Same thing with facilities. So I'm assuming that you don't have, let's say you've got a physical office, or maybe a factory, maybe a warehouse, that a manufacturing plant, distribution center, is that you cannot do a whole lot more with that. Okay, maybe you could rearrange things a little bit, but you can't go and say open a bigger warehouse at this stage. Okay, and expenses too. You've pretty much cut back. Sure, there are always things that you could cut, but those are pretty much, I'm going to say, these are all pain points, and these are things that you can't really change. You feel that you can't change, and so I'm just going to accept that. So I'm going to make this very difficult for myself, in that I'm going to put in a few constraints there. We'll look at a few of the positives, and then some of those constraints, the things that you can't change, you feel you can't change. What are your options? And then we'll come up with a very, very simple strategy on what you might be able to do straight away to see whether you can work with what you've got. Okay, so first, some positives here. Okay, you've got a great reputation in the industry. Maybe that's being undermined by some cheaper competitors. Maybe there are some importers, or there's some people outsourced in other countries who are cheaper, but really people who know you. Like once you build rapport with them, they trust you very, very quickly. They soon see that you know your stuff and that you've got very, very deep expertise that's very well recognized for those who know you. And the other thing is, because you're small, you give like outstanding customer service. And those customers, if you've got repeat business, they keep coming back. They love you. Okay? And maybe you also service them directly, or maybe you do them through some distributors. And those distributors love you and recognize you, and they just like the quality of your work. Your delivery is really, really very, very good. And if there's ever a problem, they know that they can just get on the phone to you and you're going to sort it out. Okay? So those are a few positives. So we've seen the pain points. We've looked at some positives. Let's just jump into the constraints that we've got here. Okay, so this is making my job deliberately difficult. Okay, so one of the constraints is that you're working long hours. This is a real pain point for you. You're really finding that is a big problem in your business, is that you're working long hours. And so whatever it is that you're going to do to get this breakthrough, or whatever it is that I'm going to suggest, it can't take much more time because you just don't have it. Okay, you're already feeling burnt out, and you're already thinking, well, I can go and get a job, but what happens to all of the staff in my business, and what happens to my reputation? What happens to you're just thinking about all of these what ifs. Okay. Now the other thing, one of the constraints, and this is a really big one, is that your expert knowledge is not easy to transfer. There's a whole lot of stuff that you do that pretty much nobody else can do. There's a lot of things that you know that no one else. Well, yeah, there would probably, but there would probably be a few colleagues or competitors, but really, the buck stops with you. And I'm not just talking about responsibility here. I'm talking about knowledge. Okay, and so you're feeling that pain, that burden of your expertise that you simply can't train up somebody else. Okay, or you feel that you can't. And so that means that if you shut down, the business shuts down. If you go on holidays, if you take a vacation, if you get sick, well, you simply can't afford to, because there is too much just dependent on you, too much going through you. Okay, we've already been through, you've been through the cost-cutting exercise, and so that's really, really limited. You feel that there is not much that you can do. And I probably will agree with you there. You're probably going to find that, your cost cutting, you can only reduce your expenses so much until it's actually going to affect the quality, or it's going to basically, even in your materials, it's going to be paid for in your equipment. If you are a product business, you're going to pay for it in more time. Okay, and time, as we've seen, is the big problem here. You don't have time. You're feeling burnt out. And so business expansion is another problem. That's difficult because you feel that even if you were to increase your workload, if you were to increase your production, if you were to sell to, more clients, more customers, then that's going to dig more into your time, more into your stress. That's going to give you much more of the whole. Maybe you've got to expand your premises, maybe you've got to move location, and that itself is just like such a disruption that you really would only want to make that kind of investment if you knew long term there was going to be return on it, a good return. And so business expansion, or expanding into a new market, you feel that you're not necessarily at capacity, but you're feeling that you are at capacity in this sense. The expert knowledge isn't transferable. Okay, everything is going through you, and so the working long hours is going to be a problem. Okay, longer hours. In fact, it's not even an option. You're already eating very much into your family time, into sleep time. You're not really looking after your health, and so on. So all of these things are, the phone is always on. You're always online in your online office. And so I'm really, as I say, I'm making it difficult for myself here. In other words, I'm understanding your constraints. I am recognizing that everybody's coming up with these great marketing plans or sales plans or business expansion plans and so on, but they're not seeing that you do not have the time and you don't have the money, even if you did have the time. Okay, so we want to have the investment in whatever changes you make is going to be minimal. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the return is going to be minimal, but sometimes just the minimum is going to be enough just to give you that breakthrough. So that's why I've called this as minimum investment business breakthrough. And I'm also going to say that we're not going to go and sack staff. Okay, you've got a happy environment. They're good at what they do. And so, yes, you do need to make more sales, but most of all, you need to make some profit. Okay? And so I'm going to distinguish between profit and sales, or profit and revenue shortly, even if you're not an accountant. I'm certainly not. But so here are the pain points. There are the constraints. So what are your options? Well, one option is to sell the business. Okay, now you're probably going to sell it for a song. Probably, okay, the plant, the equipment, if you've got some, the knowledge. How do you sell your knowledge? It's pretty hard, isn't it? And so shutting it down, it's almost like selling it on eBay or something like that, and you just think, yeah, really, really don't want to go down that path. Maybe you've got a mortgage on your house, and that's kind of like the business is resting on that. Okay, so selling the business is probably better than cutting your losses and just shutting down. Okay, but still, you will feel that selling the business is. I'm not saying that shouldn't be an option. In fact, I'm saying that is an option. But if it is an option, then what can you do to make that business a little bit more profitable? Just before, in preparation for selling. And who knows, it could be just like sometimes when somebody gets paint their house, right? They get a house painted before they decide to sell it, and after they paint it, it looks so good, they feel like it's a new place and they decide to stay on. And that could happen to your business too. Now, another option is to soldier on. Okay, and in doing that, I'm just going to remind you of some of these pain points. All right, you got long hours, you got low profits, and so on. So if you soldier on, you want to be aware that soldiering on is going to be more of the same. Like, something has to change. And so your other option is some sort of incremental improvement. Now, you could have somebody come and invest in your business. Someone could come in and buy it out, or buy out part of the business. Maybe you could rent out part of your factory if you've got that, or rent out part of your office, or somehow leverage what you've already got. But let's just look at some incremental improvements. As I say, this is a very, very generic presentation, so this is not specific for one kind of business, not even a product business or a service business. And so really, for me to be doing this, your mileage may vary. I have to give you that warning, of course, because I don't know your industry. Maybe you don't have a market. Maybe your business could never be profitable. Well, I can't assume any of those things. So let me just go through. So we've seen the pain points, just see them briefly. We've seen some positive things, the industry, your reputation, you've got deep expertise and happy customers. We've seen the constraints that you are facing, the longer hours, and that the buck stops with you. All of the knowledge seems to go through you. You can't cut costs. And really, cutting costs is in a way is a bit of a fool's game if you've already been down that path. Yes, you can cut costs, but really, the thing is, revenue is potentially infinite. Of course, in practice, it's never infinite. But there isn't a limit there. With the costs, you can only limit it to a certain extent, right? And we've seen the options. Sell or shut down or soldier on or just see if we can fix something. So what could you fix that is really, really quick? That is a very simple So let's go here. Profitability of products, profitability of services, profitability of time. So let me just explain each of those. As you hopefully know, profitability in a business is, well, it's revenue less expenses. So if you just cut down your expenses, that is going to make you profitable marginally. If you increase your prices, that's going to make you profitable, depending on how much you increase your prices, as long as your expenses don't go up. Profitability of products. Let me assume that you have a mix of products. And so, look, it could be, it could be swimming pool cleaners. Okay, it could be printers. It could be clotheslines. It could be ski equipment. I've got no idea what it is that you do. But your profitability of products, let's say that you've got more than one. Let's say that you make widgets. And you make green widgets and red widgets and blue widgets. How can you make them more profitable? Well, let's say that we sell, 10 widget, $10 a widget, and we sell 100 of them. That's $1,000. Okay, green widgets are $1,000. But let's say the red widgets only cost $7 to make. Right? We sell 100 of them. It's $700. Sorry, they only sell for $700. Well, let's just say that they produce for the same amount. Then what you're doing is you say, well, these widgets, okay, the green ones are much more profitable. So if you know that a certain line of product is more profitable, then it simply makes sense for you to sell more of them to increase your profitability. Now, you may know that doing something like delivering 2 or 3 in a batch instead of just one at a time, that's going to increase your profitability. Reducing your returns, okay, through damage or for the wrong stock or something like that, that's going to improve your profitability as well. So the idea is that you are just do a really back of the envelope calculation. You say, you know what? Even though we're selling a lot of these, or even though the price is very high, they're not very profitable. Maybe through a particular distribution channel is going to be more profitable. Hey, if we go through this distributor here, or this person who installs things, that guy is really, really good. The delivery process and just everything just runs much more smoothly. But in this other area, we know across the country, we've got to ship it across there, and then we've got another set of distributors, and we've got local sales people who have to go and visit all of the stores, and so the profitability may be very, very low. Okay, so all I'm really saying here is just look at your mix of products and work out not so much how much what their prices are. That's certainly an area that you can improve usually, especially if you've got very, very happy customers. Then chances are that you could maybe offer them and do some kind of upsell of some other thing that actually goes in with the batch of whatever it is that you sell, that could rapidly improve your profitability. But what I'm saying here is get your mix of products and then say, these ones are most profitable, or the mix of customers or clients. And you say, well, these ones are most profitable. It makes a whole lot of sense for us to be delivering more of this, more of the strategic, more of the advisory stuff, and less of the hands-on. That's getting into the services here. So look at your mixture of profitability. Same with profitability of services. Okay, if you know that you have services that are very hands-on, very high maintenance, a lot of execution, a lot of implementation, and it all seems to come back to you as the business owner, then there may be a very easy way of mixing your services up so that you can do more of the strategic advisory, the kind of trusted advisor service, and much less of the actual, getting into the dirt and digging in and really getting into the details and the hands-on. Okay. Another way of doing this is with your pricing. If you are pricing for your time, then that is a very easy way for you to improve your profitability, is to simply to stop doing that. Because your clients and your customers are not paying for your time, even though you're giving them timesheets and so on. They are paying for an outcome. And that outcome is going to be something really, really valuable to them. And so how you position that in your marketing, in your sales, in your pricing is really, really critical. And so once again, just as with the mixture of products, some or a combination can be more, you can package them together. So too with services. In fact, it's much easier to do this with services, to have a mixture of them so that you will find that some of them are much more profitable to you than others. Now, one other thing here is productivity of time. Now, this is especially relevant in a small business where the business owner is the founder. Okay, so it's a business that you have not bought from somebody else. Okay, you founded the business yourself, and your productivity of time. Now, if we look back at some of these constraints, you remember these. Okay, you're working long hours, so that tells us that you don't have time. Your expert knowledge is not transferable. Well, that may not be transferable, but there may be a whole lot of other things that are totally transferable. For example, you may be taking on jobs that you really hate doing, and that there is absolutely no reason that you should be doing them. Okay? That you do them simply because you've always done them. There are others who could even put in a checklist, put in a process to make those, to document exactly how to do it. And it might simply be 5 steps. There may be some micro process there, and it could be something as simple as arranging appointments, where it could be automated, it could be done by somebody else instead of you, instead of everything stopping with you and going through your phone. Okay? And so anything that you can do in the productivity of your time is going to be highly valuable. The very first thing that you could do is simply to put in some sort of documentation. And maybe even the word documentation is too strong. It could be simply a checklist of one tiny process that you do repeatedly, that takes you a lot of time and causes you a lot of grief. And you think, well, that is something that I could easily at least document. Surgeons use checklists, and it could be like on a 3x5 card, 30x500. You do a simple card where you do a checklist. These are the 5 steps involved. Every time we take a new order, or every time we get a return, or every time, whatever it is. Basically, not necessarily even high-level automation, but what you're doing is you are buying back some of your time. And that makes you more productive, and that will make you already less stressed, and that will allow you to focus, to go back and to rinse and repeat, to go back to some of these pain points. And you say, you know what? Here is something that I could outsource. Here is something that I could outsource. Here is something that I would be able to improve. If only I had some time to think about, I would be able to cut back on my hours. I would be able to increase my profitability just with small things. And so this is not an overhaul of your entire business that I'm suggesting, but a minimum investment business breakthrough. So in summary, if you are the technician in your business, if you are the go-to guy or go-to gal for everything, if you have got everything is going through you, then there are 3 things that you can look at. If you have a product business, look at your profitability. And you just go back through a few very, very basic numbers. It doesn't have to be, and you just say, well, look, overall, this product costs us this much time to produce, costs us this much in materials, and it gives us this return. Let's average that out. Let's work that out. Now, overall, this product, which is actually much more profitable. Then you do the same thing with your services. You get a nice mix, and in fact, you can tack on some services to your products. You could tack on some support or some training or something. It really just depends on what kind of business you're in, and especially your productivity of time. And now, one final thing is that with your productivity of time, just improving things even by 1%. 1% is not much. Okay, if you were to improve things by 1% a day, let's say today, I'm going to improve the profitability of my product by 1%. Not make any big change, but that 1% could be simply where you put the materials in your factory or in your warehouse, so that you are not moving them right across the warehouse or double handling them or something like that. Okay, your profitability of your services by 1%. 1% is not much. Okay, I'm going to improve this by 1% a day. And then your productivity of your time, that's usually an area that you could easily start to learn to say no in certain things that there's absolutely no reason that you should be doing them. Maybe nobody at all should be doing them, or maybe they are things that should be done by somebody else. Okay, so that's it from me. I hope you have found this helpful. My name is Anthony English, and thank you for watching this. I am a business coach, and if you would like to learn more, then I would like to, actually I'll just put in the contact detail. I'll get you to contact me. Okay, so I'm Anthony at anthonyenglish.com.au. I'm here in Australia. .com.au. So in Australia, that's the .au, and or else maybe go to my website, which is anthonyenglish.com.au. I would love to hear from you. I'm Anthony English, business coach, and I work with people in many different countries, not only within Australia. Thanks for watching.